see what digitalization is about. Feeling comfortable is about that we have tribunes here. Ladies and gentlemen, do come closer, have a seat, enjoy your feet. Must be hurting, running around all day. Come on, cozy seats here. It's much nicer to listen to the next presentation, which is very interesting. It's about pharma. And well, I can't provide you with the pills to have less headache tomorrow morning, but my colleague, Andrew Whitetalk, he's the Global Account Development Manager from Pharma. He's talking about digitalization initiatives in the pharmaceutical industry. And let's check out what concrete examples and initiatives Siemens is working on with companies in the pharmaceutical field by integrating digitalization. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome up on stage my colleague, Andrew Whitetalk.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our presentation, which is about digitalization initiatives in the pharmaceutical industry. It's really exciting. Come on in. Come and sit down. Rest those weary feet after that long day that you've had. Lots of people here already doing that. I wanted to talk to you today. So first of all, sorry, let me introduce myself. My name's Andrew Whitetalk. I work in our Pharmaceutical Competence Center. We are a team which brings solutions for our customers, which are specifically dedicated for the pharmaceutical industry. What we want to talk to you today about, and what we are showing on our Pharma Highlight Station, about 2/3 of the way down the hall, is digitalization examples and initiatives. Before I go into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the pharmaceutical industry and give you a very high-level overview. So what is the pharmaceutical plant of the future? Increasing flexibility and market readiness. Before I get into that, let's think about these 3 key steps that there are in the pharmaceutical industry. The first step is development. Molecular discovery, finding a new molecule, and then trialing it, testing it, clinical trials. Any idea how long this takes? Most of you know, right? It takes 6, 7, 8 years sometimes to go through this process. There's a lot of information and a lot of effort, a lot of candidates which eventually come down to a drug which can be manufactured commercially. In the next stage for the drug substance, or in primary processing, where in bulk, a raw material or an active pharmaceutical ingredient or API is manufactured. After we've manufactured in bulk, we can then put down into smaller units, meaning tablets or syringes or bottles. We can put down the secondary processing. So across these 3 different areas, we still have these real challenges in our industry around being more efficient, being able to be more flexible. What does that mean? That means being able to produce down to a size of 1, very small batches, but 1 batch or 1 treatment per patient. And that's something else we show and I will talk about later. Time to market, so being much quicker in this 6, 7, 8 year process, and also being able to bring the information between the research and development organization and the manufacturing organization, which is a real challenge sometimes or still is a real challenge often for our customers. And finally, and most importantly for our pharma customers, is the idea of quality, regulations, yeah? So a pharmaceutical plant cannot sell its products if they've not been proven to be produced correctly and conform to the standards that they have set out in their submissions, meaning that you have to be compliant and follow the regulations. And that following the regulations has often been something that pharmaceutical companies have used to say, well, we're compliant and we're not quite so efficient. But technology is driving that change. It's driving change everywhere, right? But it's really driving change in the pharma industry, and how. Just briefly, I just go through some of these key trends. So we talk about continuous manufacturing, paperless manufacturing. I'll talk about this a little bit later and show you this on the stand as well, if we can. Big data, being able to analyze what's going on, what's happening in my pharmaceutical process. That's really interesting too. Simulation of material, of production techniques, being able to really simulate what will happen. How does how does a drug really, when like an inhaler, how will that actually spread itself through my lungs? What behavior might that drug have when it goes inside my body? So that type of simulation, and robotics, which is about bringing together the very manual processes which we often have when we're making drugs. I missed one, 3D printing. The first tablets are now being printed 3D. Yeah, so why? Because actually they break down a lot quicker. So they can break down when you swallow it, it will break down instantly inside you. We're not making the 3D tablets, by the way. However, we're working on some initiatives around how 3D printing will be affecting the industry. And very briefly, how does this transform? How does this technology transform what we're doing? And these is about the challenges that our customers have around being able to make this distinctiveness technologically, being able to transform their plant and their operations and their manufacturing, being able to really work in this very sophisticated network, which is perhaps not so unique to pharma, but where we have external suppliers, subcontractors, many different plants around the world, and a very complex network of suppliers. And finally, the way that labor is modernizing, the way that people are changing, and the way that they interact. Digitalization should also be, and is also for us, about how our operators, how our factory operators, our manufacturing people will actually interact and use the data. Come on in if you want to sit down. No problem, huh? So, what I wanted to talk through today was just 4 or 5 examples of what we're really doing in the industry and some of these customer examples. The first one, paperless manufacturing. When I said earlier about the regulations, one of the things that customers will have to do is when they produce a batch of medicine, they have to make a record of production. It can be 400, 500 pages long. They have to write down every single detail, where the raw material come from, the expiry date. They have to gather data here. Did I check this? Did I do that? It's a very long process. When you create that amount of paper, you then have challenges in making sure that it's filled in correctly, and challenges in being able to make sure that everything was done properly, right? So the idea of going to paperless is guiding the recording of information, but also guiding the operation. Do this, then do this, then do this. Very complex software behind this, which allows us to be able to guide that process, and ultimately being able to review the quality and do actually what we call review by exception, meaning that we are able to just review the single parts where there's a potential error, not necessarily every single one. The real challenge as well is integrating that manual data that we might have had on paper with automated data. And this is a little view on how the integration of my automated recipes, my workflow, my screen, the HMI, the human machine interface, is able to come together on a model under S88, the standard for automation, to be able to really have an ability to bring that data together to make sure I understand what the deviations are from the different systems and the reports are, and consolidate them in a single place to give me improved guidance and control, and to really reduce the review and approval efforts, thanks to this review by exception. So paperless manufacturing is really about taking paper out and integrating the different systems. Continuous manufacturing, the other key initiative in our industry, is nicely demonstrated by the slide that we have here, which really explains the challenge of constantly providing material in different dosages, in different speeds, being able to blend them together to bring out a pill which is exactly the same, so that that mixture becomes exactly the same. The challenge is, if you can imagine that you've got different materials here coming in 1, 2, 3, 4, things like maybe sugar and salt and flour, these are maybe having different consistencies. So how do I manage the consistency of those different products as they're coming in to make sure that they keep blending in the right way to give me ultimately a really consistent product? The way I do that is by using these infrared sensors to really analyze what's going on and make sure that the conformity is there, using my process analytical technology, or PAT. It's a well-known initiative in our industry. And Siemens has a product called SciPat, which is used for this part of for the analysis. So really getting an understanding of what's going on inside the process. A third example, which we show, and we'll show the other examples too, down on our booth, is the single-use technology, the increased use of single-use. What does that mean? So where in pharma industry, often one of the challenges has been we make small batches or relatively small batches. Every time you change and you make a new batch, even if it's the same product, you have to clean the whole thing. Imagine at home if you had to clean down your bin every time you changed it from your kitchen. You don't do that. You put a plastic bag inside it. Everything, when you change the plastic bag, you throw the bag away, put another one in, and you start again. It's the same principle here. We have single-use plastic bags where what will happen is they're a bit more technologically advanced than bin liners, of course, but where they are able to put in sensors and really be able to understand what's happening in a single-use equipment. So this gives more flexibility, and really the highlight being it's changing the, or reducing the changeover times and the cleaning times. Another example, which is quite exciting for us in digitalization in the pharmaceutical industry, is this idea of immersive intelligent manufacturing, or intelligent immersive manufacturing. This is a project we've been working on with GSK, company in the UK. The dashboard that we see here is an example. It's from the XHQ software, which some of you who were here for the previous presentation would have seen. And here they've applied that to be able to tell them what's actually going on within their production plant. This is a proof of concept for the factory of the future, and their quote is demonstrating the art of the possible, really showing some of the things that are possible today with technology, with software, underpinned by a real production process using a real control system and manufacturing software which brings this together. But there's many more other gadgets and things that are going on, so rather than having to, where I was going about writing things down, they're now in a production process where it's voice controlled, gesture controlled, start operations, stop operations, mix at 50. So these types of technologies are there. We know that they're there. We've seen them in Hollywood films. These are actually happening here, and these guys did work with some of the people who provide special effects to really see how that can work. And my final example, nearly finished, my final example of digitalization in the pharmaceutical industry is about personalized medicine. And this is one of the more interesting examples for us because it's a really interesting and powerful partnership that we've developed with a company called BioNTech, German company based in Mainz in Germany, and they are producing personalized immunotherapies. So the idea here is that somebody who has had cancer will have had some kind of chemotherapy, will have got rid of the cancer, but so that the cancer does not come back, they need an individualized, or they need a vaccine. But it's only going to work if it's based on their own individual body makeup, their cell makeup. So what they do is they extract it, and based on the single person's cells, they extract the cells, and from that they make the antidote or the vaccine, and then they inject that a little bit later. The challenges in doing this are really interesting, quite challenging. The treatment can cost tens of thousands of pounds. We'll probably have to say euros here, right? Even, you know, but tens of thousands of dollars, of pounds. And this is a really challenging thing when we want to take that to the market. So what they're really doing is finding ways to automate the process, eliminate paper, and really enable that fast scale up. So a few different examples. For us, it's really important that you understand some of these different use cases of real things that are happening there, from integrated engineering through paperless to continuous, around flexibility and single use, vaccine production, manufacturing of the future through these dashboards and so forth. Please come and see this. We've got examples of this down at our booth on the Pharma Cube, about 2/3 of the way down. It's really interesting. It's a really cool thing to see, and we've got lots of great examples. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for your attention, for your nodding and showing a little bit of interest. I hope that it's been informative and interesting for you. If you have any questions, then